Turku Saatannalle number 7. Well, this is from the 5th, but you get the idea. An ongoing event with black metal bands from various parts of the country and world, and some of them are first-timers here in Finland, and that's exactly what we have here. A band from Iceland, one of the most promising country in the black metal world right now. 20 years ago, Icelandic black metal, and people would have, question marks right above their heads. But nowadays, big things are happening, more interesting bands are coming all the way. So without further ado, here we have a band called Audn. Which way we should go?
Audn.
Audn?
Yeah.
So it means essentially Odin?
No, it stands basically for wasteland, desolate wasteland. Yeah, where the harsh nature where nothing grows, which is very common in Iceland.
Yeah, I've been there briefly, and I noticed there are barely any trees. How much this kind of a landscape inspires you to do this kind of sort of grim, dark, even depressive music?
Very much. It's very much like the music. It's harsh and cold, but also beautiful. So it's a huge influence, really. We most of the band come from a small town in the countryside, so we go to the mountains for walks, or used to when we all lived there, or most of us did, and it's a massive inspiration. So yeah, it's you could say we're trying to capture it in some ways, but it's also a lyrical theme for us. But it's not something that we set out to do. It's kind of something that we felt the music came first, and it kind of made sense. So we've been working with using like paintings of landscapes, but oil paintings from a painter from that same town, Hveragere. But yeah, nature inspires us greatly, and it's very diverse in Iceland. And like I said, like our music, it's beautiful at times, but it's very unforgiving.
Also very barren.
Yeah.
Well, Nordic countries were relatively kind of a small amount of population, but each country has its own unique sound. Iceland for sure has its own sound, kind of different but similar to Norway. Norway has their own sound, Sweden, Finland, and so forth. What do you think is the identity thing here in Iceland? Is it just because of this, like you said, the nature and the atmosphere, or is it because that you're a really small nation when it comes to amount of population and kind of isolated?
Well, the identity of the Icelandic black metal scene?
Yeah.
Well, I can't really speak for other people. I can only speak for us.
I mean, what it is, in your opinion, why Icelandic kind of a scenery in terms of black metal is kind of different?
I mean, probably very similar reasons for why black metal came to be in the first place in Norway. It's the small communities, and there's this special thing about growing up in a small place, and even if we don't have, like in Iceland, the church is Lutheran. Mm-hmm. So it's not like the Catholic Church, like where you go to church on Sundays. So we weren't kind of motivated in the same way to be anti-Christian or something like that. But I think small towns and small communities push you even further into this anti-establishment, anti-mainstream,
anti-society even.
Yeah, totally. So it's kind of, but for us, I think it's just a way to explore ourselves, both as musicians and as our personalities, and to deal with our inner demons. It's I guess for me at least it's more personal. So we don't really have a statement like the early Norwegian bands were very anti-Christian, and we have some anti-Christian themes and messages too, but that was maybe not as much the motivation. So that's for us, but like musically, I mean, there's a lot of inspiration from the French scene in Iceland. You know, the bands
Kind of
like,
a melodic feeling, maybe?
yeah. I mean, for us, definitely. And I think this idea that I described, this juxtaposition of beauty and something that is very raw and harsh, is I think that's probably the most common theme, though, because even if we don't sound like Mistirving, they are also like, they are very raw, very brutal, but also so melodic and beautiful at the same time. So I think it's just, you know, exploring these extremes and wanting to do better. And also this is probably not the most interesting answer of all, but also, you know, like how the Icelandic football team managed to get so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's like, even if you're in a town of 500 people, there's in the last 15-20 years, there's been built almost everywhere, like under soil heating pitches where you can play all year round. So there's like and it's kind of the same for music. It's like at a very young age, most people like, do you want to learn to play an instrument? What do you want to do?
You kind of need a dedication.
Yeah. Like, what do you, and that's kind of what you end up with. Like, living in a town of 2,000 people, what the fuck are you gonna do? You either play video games, watch movies, or play an instrument. There's not much else to do. So, I think that's the defining point in Iceland. Is just that it's just artists exploring what they can do, but it's not like for me the main 2 points of black metal are like where it started in Norway, or what is referred to as the second wave, and then the French wave, the third wave, with a more dissonant sound. Those came to be for their own reasons. In Iceland, I think it's not. It's just the perfect place for the same kind of thing to grow and to have its own identity. And people say, why now? There's just so few people. I mean, we have many great bands right now, but who knows what will be happening in a few years if only a few artists decide we want to do different kind of music, and the whole scene dies.
Exactly.
It's not a lot of people.
You mentioned these waves, and it's actually something that I want to also ask about. Like, first wave, audience is probably somewhat already on the map, so to speak, with these terms. But we say first wave was dominated bands like Venom, Bathory, Hellhammer, you know, very riff-oriented, kind of a raw and simple. Then the second wave created more melodies, and keyboards were implemented, and things went to kind of a different level. Even rawer, but also more kind of a beautiful and soothing style. And now this so-called third wave, especially in Iceland, is having these lots of dissonant layers. And like you referred to French scene, it also seems to be happening in one way or another, also in places like Canada, which is also one of the kind of a newer waves. Do you think there is any kind of a similar mindset in these different places, because now it's like happening at the same time in different places with different vibes, but at the same time they also like being this newer wave?
You know, it's the internet, man. You know,
everything spreads quickly.
Yeah, I mean, also, you know, when the first wave, Venom, Bathory, it was a evolution of metal. And back in those days, this is way before my time, but back in those days it would be like, wow, this shit is heavy. I want to hear something even heavier. And then someone would come out and do something even heavier. But back in those days it was difficult to get your music released, and it was expensive to go to studios. But so these earlier waves, they kind of, you could maybe see their surroundings affect their development more. But nowadays, it's, you know, we grow up in this small town and we feel like we're the only ones thinking about this. But then there's the internet, and it's like you can hook up with someone who wants, if he likes your music, it's like, you wanna print some copies? That's what we did with our first album. It was just very small distributors, very small deals, but it's a lot easier nowadays. and it helps bring people together as well. So there's this kind of mentality that black metal created that was born and developed in a few different places. Now the development is kind of more global, just kind of centered around what each and every person thinks of that scene. Like some people don't like where black metal is going with the more post-influenced bands. And sure, but yeah, I don't know what else to add to that. I just think it's like, it's the internet, for better or worse, has kind of brought us all together.
Yeah.
And we feel that. We're in Iceland, we're a small scene, we're very isolated, but we're lucky to get to come to places like this. And we meet people that are just like, wow, where have you been all my life? It's like, you're interested in the same things as I am. Like, I had no one to talk to about these things growing up in Iceland, except the guys that I ended up being in a band with. So, but now it's like, whoa, this thing is actually a lot bigger than we realized. So
that brings to me the next question, which would be, back in the days, Norway had like a couple of bigger cities where all the bands were more or less kind of centralized. Also Sweden, Stockholm and Gothenburg, kind of a style of, you know, bands were more like in two different cities, so it's not like it was all over, you know, country. Oh. But in Iceland it's different. You have only Reykjavik, and basically the other are just small towns. So the question is, do you keep a lot of contact with each other because the scene is not that big, or are you just like kind of separated, isolated from each other, and everything just happens?
You know, we all know each other, but it's not all from Reykjavik. We're actually not from Reykjavik. So
yeah, I figured you are. I mean, like considering maybe that's the only like bigger city.
Yeah, maybe that's the difference. You know, so maybe we're the odd ones out because we're not from Reykjavik. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but it's the scene, as you say, like the scene in Iceland. It is really just very few people, and you know. There's just a few people making a lot of good music. Like, it's not just Mistryming and Svartidauði and Naðra and all these bands that are associated with Mánagandur. But these guys are all very, very close. Knew each other, were in other bands before. So maybe that's why those bands have a closer identity. And we're maybe the bit odd ones out. But yeah, we know those guys. They're great guys, and I think they maybe kind of pushed us like to do better, because
is it like a friendly competition?
Yeah,
or something like that?
yeah.
Sparring maybe.
Yeah. It's no animosity or anything like that. But it's like when Mistryming were you know, they exploded all of a sudden, and we were like, oh shit.
You gotta step up.
Yeah. Fuck, we gotta fucking step up, man. And so it was a friendly competition, definitely. A small festival in Iceland called Eistnaflug also helped a lot, because that brought all the scenes together and kind of the whole metal scene. Now there's more festivals like Reykjavik Metal Fest and the Ascension Festival, which used to be called the Racing Festival, and Norðanpunk. It's getting a bit more segregated now.
Yeah.
But I think having like this one festival in Iceland that was kind of like almost the entire extreme metal scene was there, I think that kind of pushed everyone to do even better. Like, you'd watch a band, you're like, that was good, we gotta be even better.
So what makes your stage appearance, your live gigs special? Is there anything special, or what it is?
We kind of worked with a bit with minimalism, really, because at first we were, you know, looking for our identity. Like, we were doing the corpse paint. We had an inverted cross on the microphone stand that was hooked on there with rusted barbed wire, blah, 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 all that shit. But that wasn't us, and we realized that, and we were like, so what do we do? Let's just remove that. Let's take off the makeup. We already had the idea of trying to dress in like jackets. Not doing the blood and tattered and torn clothes, stuff like that. So it kind of relates a bit to the music as well, this juxtaposition of the beauty in something that is inherently not very beautiful. So we're kind of like be yourself, be ourselves, and it's also like people don't expect the power or the harshness when you walk up on stage wearing a jacket and you got your hair all shit like that. So it's just us exploring ourselves and where we can go with this. But yeah.
Are you ever afraid or felt like a bit awkward when people go, oh, you're just hipsters, you're not doing the traditional black metal thing, you're doing this kind of a fancy thing? Do you ever feel like oh man, you know, we're not hipsters, we just do different?
No, don't explain yourself. Just
do what you do.
Just come see the show, and you won't talk shit anymore.
You will prove that. Okay. So before we quit, one thing about lyrics. Usually Icelandic bands, I mean in general, very much using Icelandic language also, so it's not very easy to approach them, and in the sense of like all Norwegian and Swedish bands, most Finnish bands, most obviously American bands and all that stuff have English. But most Icelandic bands come from with really hard to understand Icelandic thing. So to put it in a nutshell, what do you guys sing about?
Depression, nature, and yeah, those are the two biggest themes. Like the first album was a bit more about the fantastic things, like a little bit of Icelandic folklore actually creeped into there, and
not Dimmu Borgir, I guess. People who don't know it's a place in Iceland.
Yeah, not specifically Dimmu Borgir. No. But the second album was more focused on dealing with depression, and I think that was just born out of where we were at the time we were making the album. Most of the lyrics are written by Audn, our guitarists, but we were we try and do most of the music together in the rehearsal space to have everyone have feedback on it. So it's just what came to us, and it's also how the music spoke to us, because the music comes first, then come the lyrics.
Do you share the ideas with lyrics? Like can somebody else say like, you need to have these parts here, you need to get that removed?
Yeah. If you're ever trying to create something with other people and you let your ego interfere, it's not good. You gotta listen to people, but you also gotta believe in what you're doing. Don't do everything people tell you to do, but you also have to listen and trying to do better. But we do this like the way I approach vocals is I want to kind of do the vocals before I know what I'm gonna say, because in metal oftentimes you'll love a song and then you'll go and check out what the hell they're saying.
Exactly.
Like we're doing this vocals, and you can't really understand for the first time. Most oftentimes you won't understand what is being said, but then you really like it, you dig into it, it might add another layer to it, the lyrics themselves. But for me, the way we did the last album, I was with the guys all the time when they were writing the songs, like, how about we do it like this, how about we do it like that, and I was trying out, like, I like to improvise a lot, and you can do that with doing these harsh vocals, because it doesn't always need to be words.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the album was kind of ready, I was like, I have an idea how I want the vocals to be. I want like a chorus that has this kind of a rhythm and going this place, and a verse here that sounds a bit like this, and then it's like, okay, now what the fuck should I say?
So they're basically like instrument you just fill with words with.
Yeah, it is an instrument.
Yeah.
It is, I've never really been into the traditional singing. Like, I can't sing for shit myself.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, no.
Can't you sing like melodic stuff?
No. It's not really, and I'm not really that interested into it. I mean, like, I'm not saying that I'm doing anything new really, and that's not the point either. But like when I can't stand like these talent competitions, and like people are singing like this. Oh, here's a classic song, and oh my God, he's doing it so well, and I'm like,
Yeah, but he's creating nothing new.
Yeah, fucking congratulations, man. 1 million people have done that, and just as well.
You're a talented karaoke singer.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I think we have to wrap up, but before, last question. You have 2 great releases out. What happens next?
New music, I hope.
When, about?
Oh, that's a difficult question. We're working on. We have a few songs right now, and so we're kind of getting the ball rolling. We did a tour last November with the great Old Ones, fantastic guys, and you kind of after a tour, you kind of wanna take a step back a little bit.
Like
so,
take a distance.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. And now we're just like talking like, what do we want to do with the next album? We have a few songs, so we're at this. It's too early to say when. I mean, we know when our label wants it.
History takes time.
Yeah, but the label wants a new album every 2 or 3 years, so it'll be 2 or 3 years in between albums. But right now, it's in the early stages, a new album. But you don't want to keep playing the same songs again and again and again. You want to do something different. So right now, we're kind of just enjoying that we're not doing as many gigs. Although, I mean, we love that we get to travel and do gigs. But right now, we're just enjoying each other's company and figuring out what we want to do for our next album. I mean, the songs just come naturally, but you kind of also have to give it a bit of a push.
Yes. Well, that is our excuse to conclude the interview. If you still don't know what this great band is all about, all you need to do is click the links that are supposed to be in the description box in this interview. Go check out the samples, fall in love with the music. I did, and congratulate yourself for finding a new band. And if you already know the band, spread the message, spread the love, like they say. This is Rauta. See you somewhere soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
It was nice. Long answers and replies. And like,
yeah, sorry.
No need to apologize. That's just great. I don't have to do anything. I'm just hanging around here.